Okay, y'all, if y'all are like me, you guys took the last couple weeks off of hockey to focus on the Toronto Blue Jays and their great run towards nothing. Unfortunately, I'm really upset about it. But now we gotta get back on the NHL grind. I've been posting for a while, and so I'm back to it now. But we gotta check in on this league. What's going on? While I was gone, I was still checking the league, of course, seeing who's doing good, who's doing bad. And realistically, it's been quite surprising to say the least. The teams that are in the playoff spots right now are not who I thought they would be, at least not as high as I thought they would be. And there have been some surprises, some teams who are very much overwhelming, underwhelming, and obviously some players who are completely shocking the entire league as well. So let's talk about it. I don't think a single division has been the way I thought it was going to be, and therefore you can say my predictions have not been too strong. But it's honestly not my fault because I don't think anyone's predictions have been right so far. I mean, you look at the Montreal Canadiens, the top of the Atlantic Division so far, with Detroit in second, and a Leafs team that, including myself, everyone's been very critical of in third place in the division. They're not in the sixth place spot. They're not in a wild card spot. They're in a legitimate playoff spot for the Atlantic Division, but it's not enough, right? I don't honestly know which one I'm more surprised about. I think it honestly is Detroit. I could definitely see Montreal being a good team. They have all the pieces that need to be there for a good team. Great offense, great defense, very, very good goaltending. I think that's the biggest surprise for Montreal with Jacob Dobes doing ridiculous things. But the Red Wings, they got Patty Kane, they got Larkin, DeBrincat. These guys are playing great, and they're in second in the division. You got to give them a lot of credit for that. Over in the Metro Division, I actually have to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back here because I predicted that the New Jersey Devils would be first in this division before the season, and so I'm very happy about that. What I did not predict is that my guys right here, the Pittsburgh Penguins, would be second in the Metro Division. That's amazing news. We all want to see Crosby, Malkin, Letang, these guys get one more run, and this could be the year as long as they can continue this. I mean, it's going to be very hard to continue this over an 82-game span, considering that these guys are all with older legs. But, they look amazing. They look fresh. They look like they're playing, honestly, some of the best hockey of their careers, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the season looks like for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The wild card, however, we have some pretty surprising teams. I mean, Tampa Bay started off really badly. They're on a great streak right now. They've been killing it. They won a 5-game in a row. They are at one win before this 5-game win streak, so they really needed this. On the other end of things, we have the Florida Panthers struggling. And listen, I want to say one thing. Every team in the East is above 500, which is crazy to think about. But the point is, no one is really struggling. But for their standards, they are struggling. Yes, they're missing a lot of important players with the Barkov, Kachuk, etc. But with that being said, they still have a strong roster, and they have to be doing better than this. As well, the Washington Capitals, another team, they're doing pretty well for their points percentage, but they're not in a playoff position. And this is a team that was first last year in the division, so they have to pick it up. Central Division is a lot of fun. You see the Avalanche to be expected, the Jets to be expected, and the Utah Mammoth. Look at the Utah Mammoth, man. I feel like they have these young pieces that are so important to their team. Guys like Cooley, guys like Genther, guys like Clayton Keller, who is just having an unbelievable season. You have to give him a lot of credit. Nick Schmaltz, who was leading the league in points at one point. I mean, what is going on in Utah, man? You have to give him a lot of credit. They're a team that didn't really have an identity, in my opinion. They were in Arizona. They got relocated, and they kind of struggled to get their identity. But now they're a genuine contender for a top seed in their division. Obviously, they have a couple very good teams they're going to be battling with, but it'll be fun to see what they can do the rest of the season. Over in the Pacific, we see the Vegas Golden Knights in the top 3, which to be expected. But then you see the Seattle Kraken and the Anaheim Ducks. I think this is by far my most interesting, outlook on a beginning of a season I've had in recent history looking at the NHL. I feel like there's so many good playoff level teams who are either underperforming or just have situations that put them outside of the playoffs. And then you see these guys like Anaheim and Seattle and Utah who are taking full advantage, and they're going for it, and they're doing a great job. You give them a lot of credit. At the wild card spots, we see the familiar faces in the Edmonton Oilers. We see the Dallas Stars, the LA Kings. These are teams that are always going to be competing for the playoff spots, so you have to give them a lot of credit. One team I'm very much upset with and disappointed with is the Calgary Flames. What are we doing, Calgary? You guys have all the assets you need to at least be a contender. And I understand that a big part of last season's quote-unquote, I shouldn't say quote-unquote, but their near success, almost making the playoff team, was play of Dustin Wolf. I understand that he's not been at his best this season, but they've got to play better around him as well. I understand you can't win with a subpar goaltender, but Dustin Wolf is far from that, and I think he'll get back to that. But the question is, when he's back to his high-level play, will the Flames be able to bounce back and play around him the way they should be? And that's the question that we're going to be finding out rest of the season. But for now, I have to say that they've been a disappointing team. You know, look at other teams that are disappointing. I mean, the Vancouver Canucks, they're not in a playoff spot. They're the most random team in the league. They could be, you know, the best team in the league or the worst team in the league on any given night, and we don't really know. So I will say I'm actually very intrigued to see what happens the rest of the season with them, but I hope that they do well for their own sake. Blackhawks have been great. Frank Nazar, Connor Bedard, they've been amazing. They played a great, great season, and, you know, for their standards, they've been awesome. The Minnesota Wild have been terrible. They have to be better than this. They just paid $17 million a year to Kirill Kaprizov. They got to make that money work, and they got to make the playoffs and be a contender for the Stanley Cup. And if they don't do that, it's a failure. I try to give a quick summary there, did the best I can to make sure you guys get a whole picture of who's doing well and who's not doing well in this league. I think my three main winners so far this season are the Penguins, the Red Wings, and for me, the Utah Mammoth. They've been so impressive. These are three teams I didn't really see anything from, you know, in potential, you know, playoff pushes. But, I mean, maybe Utah, but especially the Penguins and the Red Wings, I did not see in their tough divisions, and they've done an amazing job so far. My three most disappointing teams are the Minnesota Wild, the Calgary Flames, and honestly the Washington Capitals, but I didn't expect them to be that same first seed level that they were last season, but they should be a playoff team, and they have to get there. I'll make a video this week on the best players and the worst players this season so far. Hint is that there's going to be some Pittsburgh Penguins in there with Evgeny Malkin, top 5 in the league in points. We love to see it. Anyways, thanks so much for watching this video today. I know it's a short one, but my first video back from my Blue Jays hiatus. I'll be back to being consistent very soon, so keep an eye out for that. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much, and take care.